All right, let's get to our sweet moment of the week, brought to you by BA Sweeties.
And
And
this
since
guy.
it is July 4th, stop by and get some good ice cream, 30 different flavors. And
It was hot today.
and with the heat, I think we need all 30 flavors.
It's gonna be upper 80s, close to 90 again coming up next week too. We're in the start to get towards the second week of July. You guys know, especially Northeast Ohio, when we get until late July, early August. God, it just gets so hot. I mean, this is the perfect time to use that shake shop.
You know who needs it like right now, and will get BA Sweeties when they come to Cleveland in August, hopefully to be saved. It's Paul Heyman. This guy, what happened last Friday on SmackDown. We're gonna start there again. Our sweet moment of the week. Paul Heyman had his moment at MSG. Finally, saying, "Look, I do not acknowledge you, Solo, as my tribal chief." And the crowd was unglued when that moment happened. I couldn't believe it.
He couldn't even finish his sentence. As soon as he said, "I will not," and they just blew up. I mean, I honestly never was really sure if Paul was ever going to take a bump again. It's been a while.
I know.
Long time. And this is the thing about making it count. God.
And we talk about like the details, and when you're really dedicated to your craft, you honor in the details. And Paul Heyman did not sleep. Like the red eyes was not a
Grew the beard out.
Yeah, grew the beard out.
Stubble, like he looked disheveled. He looked like he missed his meal ticket. He missed the guy that he had been with for the past 4 years.
He looked stressed for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And like sometimes, like when you see, like when you have not just a bad day, but a horrific day, and it's written all over your face. With Paul Heyman, that was absolutely true. And Solo, you just watch Solo here, and look, I'm not going to say I'm indifferent about Solo, but I do sometimes go back and forth over, okay, this is he that dude or not, or anything of that sort. But I will give him credit. He played his role. He did what he needed to do. And look, to the credit of Paul Heyman, Solo has an opportunity to really, really elevate himself. And he played his role well with Paul Heyman and Bloodline 2.0.
Yeah, he got a lot of heat with that. I mean, no one's touched Paul Heyman. It's always been a thing. May I enter? That kind of thing. Cody Rhodes, no, you may not. That kind of stuff. Like, he's been avoiding that contact. I think the only person that's ever really touched him in the past, couple decades have been CM Punk and Brock. Those have been the two guys that have done something to him. So to let this happen shows a lot of trust. And I thought about this more and more, too, with Solo's version of the Bloodline. It's not really the same as Roman's, right?
Yeah.
The cast and characters are different, too. They're supposed to be more dangerous, less calculated, more just brute force.
Yeah.
So his leadership is going to look a little different than Roman's does. It's not going to be super slow, methodical, long promos, taking up, a half hour just talking, that kind of stuff. It's going to be a lot of action. It's going to be a lot of physical nature. It's going to be a lot of just assaults, violence, that kind of thing. So he does fit that fairly well because, again, through NXT, his moniker was always the street fighter, right? That was his thing. Even in how he dresses in the ring, it looks like he's about to just get out in the middle of the street and start kicking in the head. Like that's what his thing always was. So I think for this incarnation of what they're trying to do with Bloodline 2.0, new Bloodline, new blood, whatever you want to call it, I think it works. But again, you still have some of those people saying, like in the back, Jacob Fatu, could he be? And honestly, they're setting that up to where he could be that guy eventually that looks at Solo and says, I could do this better. It's like a constant circle. And then at some point, I'm sure Zilla Fatu is going to come in and maybe do the same. Like there's so many different avenues they can go with it.
Well, and you can even see, too, the elevation of Paul Heyman, because it's obvious Paul Heyman does not fit with Bloodline 2.0.
Well, the physical elevation of Paul, too. They picked his ass up and shield bonded him.
Oh, man. Like, it is clear that he does. But coming from, and this is how well respected Paul Heyman is within the industry, coming from the guy who used to own ECW, where it's all violence in your face all the time, we have learned over the last 20-some years about Paul Heyman that violence has to have a purpose. When he's with Brock Lesnar was only attacking when it came with purpose. CM Punk, same deal. When it only came with purpose. Roman Reigns over the last 4 years, it was with purpose.
Yeah.
All attacks came with reason and purpose, and these last 3 months went exactly against the grain for Paul Heyman, who's been around as a character, who's been around for a long time. So I love it. This makes sense. I do want to tie in this with a little bit. You didn't get a chance to see the documentary that came out on YouTube. I got some thoughts on it because I saw it right before we taped. So I got some thoughts on it on the other side here. But from what we saw with that, kind of tie it into what we're seeing right now with Bloodline 2.0, we're in for something epic.